All right, welcome everyone and welcome Svava. I will put you in spotlight in just a minute. And I am so happy that you are here. The first time I remember listening to you was you were singing and it was probably in the beginning of a retreat or something for Living Miracles. And what I remember was the clearness in your voice. It was like spirit was just coming through. And maybe, I don't know, a year later or so, I heard your story that you're from Iceland, you lived in Denmark, you received the course and you went on a retreat with David Hoffmeister, and since then you have heard the voice very, very clearly. And I am personally so curious just to listen to what you have to say to us today. So welcome, Svava.
Oh, thank you so much, Anna. Thank you for inviting me. I'm just so honored to be here. It's just so beautiful. And yeah, like you mentioned, it's been quite a ride with the Course in Miracles in my life. Was thinking about this weekend that it came to me. It's over 7 years ago. But time is such a funny thing. It's like, could even think that, oh, it came last month. It's been such a ride. And yeah, maybe many of you already know kind of my story, but yeah, from living a very, very depressed in my mind, and very sad, very like so much unworthiness in my life. And then the Course coming to me, and how everything has just so miraculously changed. The Course has just, I remember I was, some months ago, I was sharing with someone, it was like when the Course came in my life, when I opened it up, it was almost like these angels singing, like, ta-da! Like it was, and it wasn't about the words even, because I have shared before that the Course came to me, well, I had it first in Danish, and then I opened it. It did not sing. I opened it and I heard, no, you have to study this in English. And I did not understand why. I know now why, but I had no idea why that would be. But I closed it, the book. I was so determined to listen to this voice and to really follow this, because I felt like I had tried everything to be happy, to really come to a state of peace in my mind and my heart. So when the book came to me in English, I ordered it in English online. Then I opened it up, and then it was like this, wow, angels singing to me. And I had only school English. I was not speaking very well. Like I have had practice for many, many years now, always speaking English, but I did not speak like that at all. I had school English, and I didn't really use it speaking. I could read basic things, but the Course is pretty, it's not easy even for English speaking people to understand. A lot of words that I didn't get at all, and I was Google translating. My first course book is filled with words both in English and Icelandic, because some of the words weren't even available in Icelandic, or so it's all mixed, like. And but I just was so determined that this was given to me by God. It was the answer. And starting, and with the Course, starting to hear the guidance to me, starting to hear, it was like prompts like that came, and it was so out of my way of thinking or saying or ideas, it was so different, so clear and so loving, and also very specific guidance. Even like I mentioned, I was taking, I don't know how many, I think I was taking like 5, 6 different medications, sleeping pills, anxiety pills, for all kinds of things. And I heard clearly in my mind, I had the course in my hands for maybe 2-3 weeks when this came. And it was clear, you can let this go, you can let this go, this we need to reduce. And I heard in my mind how much and for how long. And it was just following this. And it was just, I was blown away. I was completely blown away. And tiny things that would happen, like I didn't have much money. I would be on a walk and I was thinking, oh, I would really love a cup of coffee, but I didn't have, it's pretty expensive to go in Denmark, go out to have a cup of coffee at a coffee shop. And I was just walking there, and suddenly there was a sign that says coffee 10 crowns. And it was a flower shop, and they had real good coffee. And I was, yeah, I could maybe use 10 crowns. And then I bought the coffee, and all these miracles just started coming to me. It was speaking in spirit, just speaking to me in songs and in people talking to me. I would go and sit on a bench in a park, and then spirit would send people to me, like, and they would sit next to me and start talking, and I would just start talking and sharing. And wow, what a beautiful holy encounters I had, like, all the time. And it was just this confirmation, Svava, yes, come to me, come to me, come to me, I'm here with you. And then I started hearing music and everything. And you probably know my story of going to Holland, and I was, before the course, I was so afraid. I had really taught myself to be afraid of everything, and my self-worth was just way down. Yeah, what is coming in my mind I would love to share is that I, many years ago, way before the course, I went to India. And I went to Ramana Maharshi's ashram, and I walked in Tiruvannamalai is the name of the town. And I walked up the mountain he was on and prayed, and Arunachala, and I went into the cave that he had been. And it's just a small cave, so it was just me. I was just sitting in the cave. There were not people around, amazingly, and then he came to me in the cave, and he said to me, Svava, why don't you shine? And my answer was, well, then I would be selfish. And I didn't really understand at that point what was happening. I can see now that I only one that believes in separation in a split mind could answer like that, because there, you can't, there is really no other. There are no others. Like Jesus says in the course, there is one. One is needed to save the world, just one, to realize that you are one with your creator, you are one with God. And after that, I had quite a ride. I went into a relationship, I had quite a ride with reflecting this unworthiness back at me. And my boyfriend, he would tell me, I was very creative, loved to paint and sing and everything. And I sang in a gospel choir. At that time, I started singing. I was really trying to come out, but it's funny, these reflections, he would say to me that my paintings were ugly, that I used too many bright colors. People don't like that. And he would tell me to shut up when I was singing. So all these doubt thoughts about myself got reflected. And I was in this relationship for 7 years, and we didn't even live together, but I I was so unworthy, felt so unworthy that even my home, my apartment, I let him control everything because I felt like I was useless. And that is why in my mind, I just went down a spiral. I went down and down and down. And that's why I started getting sick and had all these medications to try to fix and come up. But I knew that this was not, I was just going, it was worse and worse. So A Course in Miracles coming to me, even though I had tried everything. I had read so many self-help books. I had gone on so many courses. I'd taken, anything spiritual. I tried anything. And yeah, so it was like a huge answer to my prayer. And I knew in my heart, this was for me. This was Jesus reaching me. And yeah, and it's so interesting with these, like you shared with me, Anna, that you have been talking about projections and war against yourself and how to listen and follow. And and all these like things were starting coming to me. Wow, it's all for me too to look at this, because I saw so clearly that this relationship I had was such a gift to me, because it was showing me where I was believing in something else than I truly am. So this projection is like anything you believe about yourself, your brothers and sisters will reflect it out of love to you, to show you where you need to look. And and this morning it was coming to me what Jesus said. He said, love your brother as yourself. And it was so clear to me that the part as yourself, you have to love yourself first, then everything will be included in it. Everyone will merge into that. And I was on my journey, I was seeing how I was always, no, you have to, love your brother and be kind and be, be right. But I wasn't seeing that I had to start with myself first, and then everything will be there. Everything will come to that. So yeah, it's just been such a ride and such an undoing, and stepping into so many beautiful things. Scary though, for sure, for the ego, because I was guided to and it's so individual. It's not like everyone needs to do what I did at all. It's so individual, and the Course is teaching us to get in touch with our eternal teacher that guides us, what we need to see, what steps we need to do. But for me, I was guided to go to this retreat and with David, but I had not been actually following David as a teacher. I was took this 40-day program, free program with Elisa Anatoly and Bill Free. And then I got some friends there inside a Facebook group, had some calls. I had a beautiful friend in the UK. I talked to a little bit, started practicing speaking a bit English. And but I wasn't following David, and I was studying myself and yeah, and just listening and following. There were so many things just coming to me. But then I was on my knees and wanted to go much deeper. I felt like there was so much more. And in my prayer was answered, and this retreat showed up in Holland, and I felt like huge calling in my heart. And I was like, I knew I would be there. But then, the ego came in and was like, no, stop it. This is too much, not for you. All these doubt thoughts about it, and I did send an email to try to cancel it, but the organizer didn't even respond to it. And so I thought, well, I am to go. I knew it. I knew I was going to go. But all these fear and steps, you know, I'd never been in Holland. I never even traveled on my own. When I went to India, I was with some friends. I was like, and I know it had gone so down. I was in so much fear, and tried to plan everything, you know, the trains, and it was far away in the country, and I had to fly there, and the plane was delayed, and everything just was taken off. All my personal plans about trying to make it safe for me, they were all wiped out. Thank God, because then I was like completely in God's hands. And I was having so many miracles just on the trip there, just on the trip to this place. And I just listened and follow what I heard. Even the last, when I went out of the bus, it was the last transportation, and completely dark, just a small town out in the country, completely dark. And I said, oh my God, Jesus, what now? I don't know what direction to go. And I heard, turn around and knock on the house, on the door, on the house behind you. And I did. And I think it was like 9:30 in the evening. And this elderly couple came out and just didn't speak any English, but oh my God, they were so helpful. And the man walked a part of the way with me, carrying my bag, and showed me, it was just, something was just waking up in me, this like, wow, there is so much more to life. Life is actually so miraculous, you know, when we don't plan anything, it's all given. And I was just starting to like truly see, like, wow, it's nothing what I thought. Life is nothing what I thought. So yeah, and then at this retreat, I just started hearing, you know, to talk to David, and I was like, no way, I'm just gonna be here at this retreat, and then I'm gonna go back home. But no, there was much bigger plan than I had imagined. So yeah, so I just started hearing all the guidance, what to say, what to do, and it completely changed my life. It's completely changed my life. But for sure, a lot of fear coming up. But somehow I had the courage to follow this. And I think, when I think back, I think it's because I had given completely up. You know, I was ready to just check out. I was just so done. I had no idea how to live this life and what to do. I didn't want to be here anymore. And I was just like desperate. So it was just that kept me going, like, okay, God, it must be for me. It must be the way. And I, yeah. And then everything like miraculously came together, like leaving Denmark and so many simpleton miracles about that was the direction for me. Even I have shared many times the symbol of the picture of me and my sons. I was blowing out candles, and I had prayed, it needs to be obvious if I'm to go. And then the wax, the candle just slips out of my hand, and the wax just goes over the photo and deletes me out of the photo. And it was like this huge love just came over me. And I knew it was so clear to me, that was the direction. It was for me to really, really go for God. And yeah, and everything just came together. And not in many months after had unwound from everything and just went with my clothes to Mexico. But I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know about a community. I wasn't really even thinking about that. It didn't come in my mind. It was just, I felt like it was Jesus just bringing me to this deeper dive and being with a mirror that would reflect back to me, undoing and the love back to me too. So it was absolutely, yeah, I'm just so grateful for all of it. And then started hearing songs. I have sang, like I said, I sang 1 year in a gospel choir, but then I was sang in a choir when I was a little girl in Iceland. But I always loved music, and I played the piano a little bit when I think I started when I was 11, 12, 13. And, but then I stopped playing. And so and my parents listened to a lot of music. There was a lot of music in the home, and I loved it. I loved it so much, but I had no idea that I would be receiving, and being used in that way. I don't feel that I have written any song really at all. It would all just come to me. It was just a gift to me, the lyrics and the music and all, yeah, and everything about it, learning to play the guitar and learning to make music on a computer. It was all just a gift to me to show me that I am loved, and then everything could, be used and helpful for the whole. It wasn't anything, I have not really done any of it. It has just been gifts from Spirit to help me unwind, to help me come back to God. And so yeah, so I received so many songs. I think I received in total maybe 125 songs. And then I started hearing that I would make these 3 albums, and I was like, how am I gonna do that? I don't know anything about anything. And guided to all of it. Even the distribution of it, all of it, actually, all of the whole package is like, okay, I know how to make, and practically make the music. I know, how to use different plugins, instruments, and and mix. I even was guided to learn to mix and master too. And just basics. I know if people go to school to learn like mixing, mastering, and all these advanced things, and it takes a long time to learn that like properly. So, and I remember when Jesus shared with me that I would be learning this too, and for a whole week I was watching a course in how to do it, and it was so advanced, and I got so confused, and I was like, this, I don't know how to do this. I was just getting like, I can't do it. And then suddenly I just started hearing, you just do this and this and this and this, and just these few steps, and I wrote it down. And that was kind of just basics, what you do to finish a song. And yeah, it's just absolutely incredible, like incredible. When we really follow the Spirit and follow our heart, how miraculous our lives can be. Miraculous, because we learn more and more that we are the love. It's all pointing to that you are the love. And when we know that we are one with God, then it all reflects, and all these miracles show up and point us to that reflections on love, instead of the reflections of the ego that you are not good enough, but it has to, I have just seen through these years that it has to you cannot change the world, but you can only change your mind about the world. When you change your mind and line up with the Holy Spirit, then everything changes. But it is the guidance and following the guidance that has been for me what took me there. It and the experience of it. Because I am not really I have not been guided to be like a teacher of the course, of the words and explaining things and all that. Is almost like the course was more open up an experience for me, almost like it was more the teachings were between the words, like Spirit would speak to me between the words. And and following that, it's absolutely amazing. So I traveled all over the world and started stepping into singing at retreats and sharing, and which was very fearful to me. I was so afraid of speaking in front of people or singing in front of people. It was just not exactly what Svava had in mind. But I also knew that I was not happy just hiding. So I've been all over, like I had never imagined. And then the pandemic hit, and then there wasn't much traveling anymore. But it's funny, I often said, like, I was praying because I was kind of like feeling, I would love to just be in one place, because when I do music and all that, it's not easy to be doing on the road and staying with people. And so I was kind of praying to stay in one place, and then the pandemic hit, and and I was like, oh, thank you. It was an answer for me, that it was like a blessing for me, I felt. So so that's where I had the time I was making the second album, when the beginning of the pandemic came. So and now I'm in Utah in a little house called Angel's Landing, at the Living Miracles Monastery. It's a very big area. I think there are almost 50 or 60 acres. So it's pretty big, beautiful nature, and very quiet. So and David and I, we live in this house that is kind of on the edge, a small little house, and we have our little cat Unity here. But David has been in Mexico for 5 weeks now. There's a lot going on in Mexico. So, and I'm having some inward quiet time and just enjoying the moment, really just being in the moment. No plans about anything, just enjoying God, looking at almost like when I was a little girl, I would be laying and looking at the clouds and seeing animals in the clouds and the clouds passing by. Very, very simple. It's so it feels beautiful, very simple, very in the moment, and so it's very, very lovely. Well, that is kind of my story a little bit.
I'm curious, how did you know it was Spirit guiding you? When I listen to you, it sounds like you're so sure. How could you be that sure?
It's funny. No, I have not always been sure. I would sometimes be like, who is, what is it? But then the question, like Jesus would says in the course, for anything, what is the purpose? And if I was not sure, I would ask myself, what is the purpose? So if the purpose was for I could feel love and expansion, and it felt like pure, the word pure is coming to me, then it felt like that is the spirit. And then if I would follow it and step into it and see all the miracles coming from it, then yeah, I was sure. But in the beginning, there was a lot of fear and doubt. And I tried like to cancel this retreat. I tried to back out, you know. I was like, no, but there was this feeling of, even though there was fear, it was this feeling of love underneath, like being carried. Like this is an expansion, a feeling of expansion with it. But in the beginning, you know, way back, like I shared the story with the coffee, there was all these tiny loving symbols. So I think it was kind of, in the beginning, the small steps were training me to listen, to be able to be sure and taking the bigger steps. But it was, yeah, I remember even when I was doing this online with Lisa Natoli, and she was talking about watch your thoughts as a hawk. And I was walking around in Copenhagen, and then suddenly in the streets of Copenhagen, there was a pillow on the street with a hawk. And I was, you know, these like crazy things showing up. How could that happen? A pillow on the street, you know? But it was these symbols showing up all the time. And I know we all have that constantly. Spirit is speaking to us all the time, all through the day. But we just are not always looking. And we are so used to judging, like, oh, it's just a coincidence, or it just, but there are no coincidences, really. It's all for us to point us to God, to ourselves, to the kingdom within. It's all pointing us to who we are. If we want to see it in that way, you know, we can choose, you know, like most people, like I did. I was always choosing to see everything is against me all the time. So I couldn't see the miracles. I couldn't see that God was loving me and trying to reach me and show me that I am one with him, that I am just as powerful. You know, we are so powerful. Like Jesus said, you can do what I did and even more. But we just have the doubt, you know, and the judgments. And that is why Course in Miracles is so amazing. It helps you wash away all that, so we can become clear and line up with Spirit that loves us more than we can ever imagine. And everything is lined up for us to show us the way, to show us back to ourselves. So everywhere are the symbols, but it is the openness that is needing, and the willingness to see that instead of seeing that everything is against us. And it takes training, you know. It's a mind training to shift from fear to love, to stop looking for things that are wrong, but look for things that are right, because they are there all the time. And I mentioned recently that years ago, I stopped completely following anything on the news, what's going on in the world. And I just felt guided that was not helpful for me. So I let it all go, and started just feeding myself with love, starting because I could feel that it wasn't supporting, it wasn't pointing me to love, it wasn't pointing me to peace or God. And yeah, occasionally I hear some talking about something political, but I have never really ever in my life been interested in any of it. I have never voted ever in my life. People would tell me like, and I would, oh, okay, completely, but there wasn't really a interest in it. I have always been more like abstract. I was doing a lot of art and everything when I was a girl, and I would be, be dreaming in school. I was actually very good. I had high grades and everything in school, but it wasn't very interesting to me. I would be more like looking out the window at the birds and dreaming away. And yeah, so I was maybe always been kind of in a not really in the world in some ways. From when I was a little girl, I had this my first awakening experience when I was 10. And I had a cat, that kitten that I was given to me, and I loved her more than anything, she was just the love of my life. And then one day I come home from school and my mom says that she was dead. She got hit by a car. And and my mom the cat wasn't completely dead from right away. So my mom took her to the vet, but she died in my mom's arms on the way, and my mom left her there at the vet. And so I didn't even see her. So I was devastated. I was so heartbroken. It was just the worst thing that had ever happened. And I cried and I cried and I cried in my room the rest of the day, and went to school next day, and I couldn't get in the school. I was just sitting on the playground and crying and completely heartbroken. And then when the bell rang and the school was over, I went home, and I was always alone for some hours before my mom came home. And I walk in the house, and I look down to the living room, and there is my grandmother sitting on the couch, sitting with my cat on her lap and patting my cat. And then I heard in my mind, Svava, don't worry, I will take care of your cat. And then they disappeared. And my grandmother, her name was Svava. I was named after her. She passed away when my mom was pregnant with me. So I had only seen her on photos, but I knew it was her. And then I was like stunned at what was going on. And I went in my room and I sat on my bed, and then I asked God. Because I was thinking, what is death? Because I had seen them. What is death? And so I asked God, can I die? And then I was out of my body, and I was floating in this infinite, beautiful, endless space, like void. And I felt so loved and so safe. And I just wanted to be there. It was like I was home. I felt it was absolutely amazing. Yeah, I can't even explain it in words. It was like there was nothing and there was everything. It was like everything could spring out of this, and it was completely still and peaceful. And I don't know how long I was there. I was just, oh my God, I felt just so much at home. And then after a while I was aware, then I was back in the body and in my room. But I knew God had answered me in this experience, that I cannot die, that I am not this body, that I am this vast oneness with him. And yeah, so I have always been talking to God. Like, I didn't even really think about it. It was natural. I was not like raised Christian. We did not go to church. Like, we went when there was a funeral or wedding, and not even really for Christmas. I don't even remember we ever doing that. And but I was but when I was born, I was living with my grandmother and my parents. They were very young, and I came unexpected. So they were living there for 2 years, and I remember it was a picture of Jesus in my grandfather's hallway, and I would ask my dad, "Who is this?" And he would say, "He is the best friend to all children in the world." And I think that changed everything, because I knew, because my dad was my hero, I knew that this man, Jesus, he was my best friend. And and then later on, my uncle, he was a Pentecostal Christian, and I had a friend who was Jehovah's Witnesses in Jehovah's, and my parents would just let me go to church with them. And I loved going to churches, and I even asked my parents to go to Sunday school at the church we belonged to. So I was all around. But the thing was, what was my calling there was, I was like, wow, they love Jesus so much. Like me, they love Jesus. And they would be singing to Jesus, singing to God. And that was like my calling and my inspiration to go. So it was kind of natural to me, I guess, to just to pray and to ask God for help and to talk to Jesus. Yeah. So I probably, when I think about it, I have never maybe really like been in the world. I've always been like floating around and couldn't figure anything out, try to different educations, try to fit in, be normal, but it was always this calling. No, there is so much more. We are so much more than this. We are not really this. Like, we are above it. We are just so loved. Yeah. They're beautiful. Yeah. Thank you.
I totally feel the same way.
Yeah, I know you all did.
I have one more question before we open up the floor completely for everyone to ask anything. So my next question is about the fear. I feel a lot of fear and confusion. And I heard you said you felt fear in the beginning as well. How did you handle the fear, the confusion? I mean, you moved into community. That's a huge step. You have a lot of mirroring everything back. How did you handle the fear and the confusion?
It feels like Spirit handled it for me. It's like we can recognize the fear, and we feel the fear, but we can only give it over to Spirit to take it. Because when we try to figure out the fear and really try to fix it, then it just gets into more fear. So it was the trust. I think the trust was how I got carried through it. That even when I met David in Holland, Jesus appeared to me sitting on a bed across me. I had signed up to be sharing a room because I thought I'm going to be open, and I'm brave, but the person didn't show up. So I was alone in this room, and before I expressed to David that I loved him, then and I was in huge fear. I didn't sleep all night. I was shaking. It was like so much. But Jesus appeared to me on the bed and he said to me, Svava, no matter what happens, remember that I am always with you. So I think that this trust in that and knowing that I'm carried through, that I cannot fix the error. It's impossible. That would make more error. But I can give it over. I can give it over and trust that I am carried through. Yeah, so spirits got it. Yeah, and it is a deep, deep surrender and trust, because really we are stepping into the unknown. We have no idea what's going to happen, but we really never did. You know, it's just imaginary that we were trying to have control over our lives and everything, but that is not spirit. You know, spirit is a spirit of joy, and life is to be joyful, and spirit knows how to bring us into that joy. So trusting in that and in the process, and even though when I will be feeling devastated, underneath I knew that this will not last forever, because spirit has me. Spirit has me, and this has to just be washed away with spirit's help, because I don't know how to do that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So who would like to ask Svava a question? You can raise your hand like this or use the digital hand. Barbro, go ahead.
I wonder if you remember me from Copenhagen.
Were you at the retreat where Jenny and Francis were?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, and Soren.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do
Okay.
remember that.
Yes, I remember very well. Very well.
Yeah.
It was my first, I don't know, my first time for a group, so big group, and talk about the miracle. It was my first time for that.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Oh, thank you. It was funny. I have a funny parable about following spirit even at that retreat, because I was it was one of the days I was late, and I was riding my bike, and there was a lot of constructions going on, and I was already a bit late. And then I was riding the bike, and then I heard in my mind, turn right here. But that was not the normal quick way to go. So I was, what? So I thought, okay, I'll trust. So I turned right, and I went seemingly a longer way. But then when I arrived to the place, I saw that there were so much constructions that I would have been more delay, and I had to walk several places if I had taken the normal. Right, yeah. So I arrived, it was only 2 minutes before, but I did not come late because I followed that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was more person. They have been there later. It's a man from Sweden too. I think you remember.
Yeah, I don't remember well, if I would see him, then I would probably remember it. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, good to see you.
Thank you, Barbro. Who else would like to ask a question? Ulla-Karin, go ahead.
I envy you very, very much that you can hear the Spirit's guidance so clearly. It's so difficult for me, but now I, at the same time, understand that I have to be brave. The trust is the key, and that I have known for years. It doesn't help. I'm very, very often take the wrong. The solution is wrong. What I cannot express myself just now. I think I hear guidance, but the conclusion of it is it wasn't. It was the ego. So this happens again and again and again, and I think I'm just here on the ground stepping. Nothing will happen. There's no development, and that's my problem. So it's very good to hear. But at the same time, I have heard more persons than you who hear this guidance so clearly, and I just wonder, how in hell do you do to hear it? I know you have tried to express it, but I still can't get it. But thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, comparison is the ego's strongest weapon. So when we start comparing, then we just close ourselves down. In the beginning, like, I didn't hear everything so clearly. I would see symbols like the hawk pillow, or, you know, I would, and even like bird coming to me and singing, it would bring like love in my heart, like, oh, I feel so loved. So there are these tiny symbols constantly around us that we just dismiss because we think that it has to be in a certain way, that I hear a voice talking to me, but it isn't like that. Only Spirit speaks to me too in a song in different ways. So, but there is this can be this push that and comparison that I need to be better at some, but that is just the ego telling you that you are not doing things right, and that is not true at all. But it is about seeing and appreciating the small things that starts bringing you closer and closer and open you up more and more. Like, you know, even I still do every morning when I have breakfast. I thank God for that I have clothes to wear, and that I have shoes to wear, and I have food to eat and drinks to drink, and I have a bed to sleep in. I have roof over my head. These small, seeming small, but they are big. Everything is always abundantly given to us. So for me, it has been like stepping into the gratitude of what is, and accepting what is, and appreciating it, and turning my mind towards gratitude and appreciation for the small things that are given me. And everything is so perfectly given always. It is just our mind that needs to change, and the love for ourselves that needs to expand. So this seeming small things, but you know, to have clothes to wear, that is beautiful, you know, and to have food to eat, oh my God, that is just such a beautiful gift. And we are just so loved all the time, but the ego wants to hold on to the negativity and the believing in lack, and I cannot, and others have more, or this is just a pattern of this is the ego, not anything personal. It's just the one ego trick, you know, there is tricking us to believe that we are separated from God, but we are always resting in his love, and we are so loved so unconditionally. So it's the changing of the mind and turning towards love and appreciation and gratitude and thankfulness. Yeah. So yes, God speaks to you everywhere, all the time. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Svava and Ulla-Karin.
Thank you.
Who else would like to ask a question? And then we are going to finish. Marie, go ahead.
Hello, and thank you. And I just want to cry now. It's just before I had a few questions, and they were answered when you were talking and with Anna, and I realized now we have had today Easter reunion with the family and grandchildren, and the reflection back from my grandchildren. But you know, I know all these things, you know, that I don't have. They are just symbols and so on. But what I realize now is that what they've given back to me today is so much love, and that I don't recognize how loved I am. You know, it's really, and that love is from God. So I can really see what's going on. And today's lesson has been so beautiful as well, because I've been telling, when I've been doing things and doing in the kitchen and so on, I had the lessons all the time, and I've been so relaxed. And also the lesson from yesterday, that's it's all these images going on, but I had my function, and it's just so big. And but what I could see now is that I never seen how loved I am, and it's really coming back to me. So thank you so much. This been giving to me so much this now. Wow. And also, I knew I was going to be very busy today. We had beautiful meetings, Zoom meetings with Anna and this group. And I felt that today I couldn't be. So I wrote to Anna this morning, I can't be at the Zoom meetings. So I wrote it to her, and I sent it away the message. And then there came this remembrance, Svava. Oh yes, and I try for Svava. So it's just this guidance coming all the time. So I thought, oh yes, I'm going to be with Svava today. Wow, it's being so guided. It's really then, and the lesson for me is also to start to appreciate the small things. You know, like
sitting here, the clothes I have, whatever is going on. So that's my lesson for today, to start to use more in my life. So thank you so much. Wow.
Thank you. Thank you, God, for everything. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. So let's end this meeting with gratitudes. You can write your gratitudes in the chat box or raise your hand and just express your gratitudes. And I can start, but I'm going to cry as well. And I don't really know why. I just feel a lot of connection with all of us, and I can relate to so much of your story, Svava. Yeah, I'm feeling uplifted and so grateful. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. Oh, I feel like it's been such a gift for me to be here, to share and to just share and be here with you in the presence. It's just beautiful presence. Yeah. So thank you for the invitation. It's just, such a gift. I feel so blessed to be here. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Lena.
I just want to say thank you, Svava, and thank you for your love story. Oh, it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. And you're extending love. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have some writings in the chat box. Anyone else would like to express some gratitude? You get hearts, Svava.
Oh.
Mona, go ahead.
Hi, Svava. Thank you so very much for everything that you are sharing here with us. I was listening to you yesterday when I was going home from Norway, and I could feel in my heart that I just want to do what you are doing. I could feel the calling so loud, and it felt so simple when I was listening to you. You were just listening, and you were just following what you were told to do. And I just thought, wow, this is what I want to do in life. This is what I want to do. I really want to follow Jesus and God. And to be able to be here with you today, it's overwhelming, absolutely. So I really hope that I will see you in the future on somewhere. What I understand is that you are not living in a special country now. You're still moving around. So hopefully I will meet you in the future.
Yeah. It's all in God's hands, and we'll see what comes. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. Thank you so much, Svava.
Thank you, all of you.
Soon.
Thank you, all of you, for being here. Thank you. Have a blessed day. Or evening. I guess it's evening for you almost.
Yes.
Yeah.
You too. Have a blessed day.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.
Bye.
Mm.